Narayan, I have to ask you this question.
Yeah.
One of the earlier panelists, who happens to be a brand expert, Sharad Gupta, who came for a panel discussion. I took an example.
Yeah.
For example, there's a BTech graduate from Delhi, BTech graduate from Chennai, BTech graduate from Trivandrum, BTech graduate from Kolkata, and there's a BTech graduate from Jumri Talaya.
Right.
Actually, there's a place called Jumri Talaya in Bihar. It's not a fictitious name, right? You put all 5 of them under one roof. Try and evaluate their level of knowledge exposure. You will understand there is a variation in our education system. Why I'm bringing this background? There are brilliant startup ideas. People struggle to execute is on account of reachability. Now, for some reason, the compliance called ESG, startup ecosystem. A lot of people talk about you need to have a pitch document, you need to pitch it for VCs, you need to talk to the PE, you need to look for investors. Every one of them, it can propel your startup only when you have a compatibility with the language called English.
Yeah.
Today we are conversing there,
Yes.
right? For those who do not have access to information, because of their inability to express themselves in a language which they are not comfortable in. India is a country, we have multiple languages. For the benefit of my startup, aspirational guys out there who's listening to us, of course, I'll put a subtitle in many languages. If I want to know as a startup that what are the significant things which I should know about ESG, that's my first question. And if I know what ESG is all about, how do I go about ensuring that my startup ecosystem inculcates that as a culture in my system? Is there a kind of a knowledge platform which is available for startups to go and educate themselves? That's my question.
Well, yeah, I think that's a very fair question. So, in India, we have our official language, business language, let me put it this way, largely, has been English. Therefore, yes, the language part is there. But having said that, I should add here that much like most of the business terminologies, most of the people who are in the field, who are either on the investing side or maybe they are working for some organization, they do kind of pick up on what the ESG entails, because it's more like an accounting debit and credit. So you do know what is a debit, you know what is a credit if you are working in that field. But even if you haven't really studied it, let's say in English, though, there is a way of making it up. So I suppose that though I totally acknowledge the part that this might be a challenge for people who are not so familiar with English, and they are entrepreneurs in other areas, but I'm sure that the more and more they engage with this community, they will certainly take it up. Now, having said this, I should also add that in terms of educating themselves on these aspects, very important, because normally what happens is the demand whenever they go for you mentioned about the pitch, if I remember. Is that most of the time the pitch is all about your business plan. That is, what is it that they will do with the money that is going to come to them. So, and then kind of returns that they can project. So, but rarely the document includes issues related to the environmental impact of their work or the kind of stakeholders that they will be dealing with in turn, what will be the kind of exchange of goods and services, which may in turn also have societal impact, and so on and so forth. So basically, those other things get more or less treated like externalities and are more in the periphery, though they don't really come to the core of the whole discussion around the business, the funding part, and that therefore a lot of the startup investors and as well as the business people don't take much interest on this side. But having said that, my view is that the way where we stand today, and if these entrepreneurs start looking at some of these stories which have happened last year, for example, and we still read about them both in India and outside, it's very important that they start educating themselves on the aspects of ESG. ESG is how you run the company, in my opinion. It's not just making or selling or collecting the payment. It's much more than that.
It's like a culture. You got to imbibe that as a culture.
Yes.
There are no shortcuts for that. If I understand.
And as a matter of fact, shortcut is a very interesting word. Shortcut is what really ESG is not all about. it prevents you from taking those risky shortcuts. And it makes sure that you are on track. It makes sure that you are accountable to all the stakeholders and not just one of them. And ESG at the same time is also a collective responsibility. It's not only the responsibility of the founder, it's also the responsibility of the investors, the board.
The complete ecosystem. The complete ecosystem. Interesting.
And anyone who has any kind of influence or say on the running of the company, they have to take more ownership also of that. Because if the only expectation that they have from the founder is that it's all about money, then in that case, that's where all the efforts will go in as well. All the energies are going to go as well. But what we are talking about here is that we try to avoid taking those risky shortcuts, which can cut short your journey. That's a very important aspect of all about. And all the effort that you may have made in the past, they will be null and void at some point in time. And that's very important aspect of it today.